right. Well, let's close out today, guys. We're going to talk about this. I'm going to say relatively confusing Morgan Stanley note that was sent out around their advisors. It says home prices will fall in 2024. Okay, so that's just the title. This is a Morgan Stanley internal memo that went out talking about basically their rationale for home prices going down. So mortgage rates will fall, incomes will continue to rise, and an uptick in listings will spur more housing activity, and it will even lower home prices.
Wow.
So here's what I'm confused by. If mortgage rates will fall, that increases affordability, increases interest in some cases. That makes affordability easier. If incomes continue to rise, that also makes affordability easier. And if more people can buy and there's more people demanding homes, how does that mean that prices are going to go down? Am I missing something?
Well, because if they're going to raise like wages, that means people are going to have more money to spend, which is going to be dispersed into the economy, which then causes inflation, which causes prices to go up, which then goes back to the same thing.
But it says that analysts believe that the housing market is unlikely to see significant decreases in inventory. Okay, well, if a shortage of supply is already helping keep prices high, how, if we don't have any more decreases? I don't understand. There's something functionally that I don't understand.
Neither
here.
does Uncle Powell.
They're saying they expect home prices to fall modestly as housing activity picks up. But that's typically not the case. The only time I can think that maybe that was happening is when there was too many that flooded the market at the same time, but they were bank owned. I am going back to 2008, 2009 in this one, where we saw hundreds of thousands of homes come on board quickly, fire sale almost, if you will, and prices were dropping fast because we had so many properties that the banking system took back and had to sell.
Yeah, I mean, it's very difficult to pinpoint exactly where. Here in San Diego, it's just not happening. You know, other places in the nation, it could be happening very well. This could be very, very true. But we're talking about it here, right? I'm going to say more of my opinion here in San Diego. I don't see that happening as Morgan Stanley would state here. The other thing is we also follow our research. So, Altos is something we always follow the data, and data is not going to lie. Data is there. As a matter of fact, when Altos back in 2005-06, he went to Bear Stearns and Lehman Brothers and said, hey, I have all this data, and here it is, you guys. Hire me so I can help you because we're going to see this huge meltdown. That's, he was already foreseeing it based on the data. Guess what? They turned him down. Well, what do you mean? We already have like 25, 35 analysts here. What is it that that they don't? Well, guess what? He had all the evidence because he was able to monitor all the data and knew exactly where we're heading. He feels very confident based on moving forward into 2024 that we should see a little more inventory, right? Yeah. But we're not going to expect house prices to drop significantly.
Yeah, and that's the part I think that is concerning, is that the memo is saying things that actually conflict in the variables of the said formula. And so if we see an increase in demand, that typically comes with prices stabilizing or going higher. If money gets cheaper, then prices go up. But that's already why you saw such a rampant rise in home prices in 2020, 21, and 22, is because the money was dirt cheap. Yeah. And people were trying to get out of the city or out of wherever or get to the place they want to be next or whatever the reason was. They did that at 3.5% rates, at 2.5% mortgage rates. So, okay, and instead of affording $500,000 at 7%, I can afford $750 at 2.5% or whatever it is.
So I'm laughing. The thing that came across to me is I saw an interesting text that come from my mother-in-law. It says, if you're complaining of your life, be considerate of the people that live in California.
Oh my God. Oh man. No, that's funny. People watching out of state, they're like suckers. So just a couple of quick things here, guys. They're saying that they expect stronger housing activity in the second half of 2024 and new home sales to increase 7.5%. And existing home sales to go up 2.5%. So we're talking about not in price, we're talking about volume. So the number of units that change hands, they're expecting to go up by 7.5%. And existing home sales go up by 2.5%. But again, that home prices will be down. So I'm trying to think about what would be the reason for that. How can you see more volume come onto the market and the prices go down by 3%? When the demand is already there. The demand is not even being absorbed with the current amount. So even if the inventory increases, it will maybe meet the demand 1-to-1. that still doesn't maybe make sense for there to be a 3% or 8%.
I don't know. Maybe they're
correction.
considering the whole Airbnb thing. How
That's
everybody's
possible.
going, oh, Airbnb collapse. You're going to see more homes available, et cetera, et cetera. But again, you got to do the data. You got to know how many Airbnbs are going to be in each state, and then kind of see like, well, when is it going to happen where Airbnb is no longer accepted in that state?
Yeah.
We don't know. I know that New York right now is kind of removed that, but
Yeah, the rules are changing on that. But I think also, again, referencing another state, I think in some places it might actually be that. It could be going down
Correct.
in some areas that were overbought. Maybe there are places in Idaho that are overbought and some in Tennessee that were overbought. And those prices have to correct. And then on average might maybe create a negative home price average. But I guess one of my kind of last assessments of this when I was reading through this in preparation for the show is that, this whole idea that the correction could be as much as 8%, 8% less. I'm sorry, that home prices could correct downward 8%. There's not even charting that looks like that. And we had a correction already in the summer of 2022 when rates started going up again. Prices did take a little bit of a dip, but they flattened out, and then they're starting to trickle back again.
Yeah.
So I think that the correction is already behind us, and I don't see any trend on charts that looks like there would be a forecast of further correction or a second correction.
yeah.
You think anything would have to do with unemployment going up?
Well, possibly, but if that happens again, or if that does happen, then again, that's inventory to already meet demand that's already in the market. There's already demand for that.
Yeah.
So I don't think that we have, again, we'd have to go and have so many more homes hit the market than there's demand for in order for there to be price wars on the way down versus price wars on the way up. If we're seeing houses go for sale and we get our buyer in and there's 10 offers, that means 9 people are still looking.
Yeah.
So that means for every house that gets 10 offers, we need 9 more houses just to meet the current demand.
Yeah.
So that's a 9-to-1 ratio. That would have to have so many. Think about having 9x the amount of homes come on the market next year in order to meet that demand. That's kind of what we're talking about in this little silly example. But anyways, I'm very curious to see what happens in 2024 and see if this actually prevails or if what we're talking about is what ends up happening.
So let's save this one.
Let's save this
We'll come
one.
back
Yeah.
and-
This one.
yeah.
Timestamp this one, December 2023. Let's see if the guys were right or deadly wrong. I guarantee you it'll be scary if we were wrong and they were right. Oh my God.